I would say desperate to see a change of government. I find every day such an astonishing catalogue of calumny and catastrophe that I can't quite believe that the Tories are on as much as 21% in the polls. Without even pausing or consulting notes, you can list actions, political moves that would be career-ending in any other context. Just imagine for a moment, for example, if Laura Trott's debacle on the BBC the other day had been Diane Abbott. People still talk about the time Diane Abbott got a sum wrong with Nick in this studio many years ago when she was an opposition politician. At the end of last week, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury revealed live on the BBC that she didn't understand what debt was in the context of GDP. She was probably a little bit unclear on what GDP was, and it was perfectly plausible, judging from her comments, that she wasn't entirely sure what percentages were either. It was, by any standards, a metaphorical car crash. And yet it has already been completely forgotten. Liz Truss is trying to rehabilitate herself as a serious political figure, and only in an ecosystem so corrupted by dark money and ludicrous propaganda could anybody even contemplate such a plan. Liz Truss, 30 billion quid, take or leave a few pence, knocks straight off the country's economy, and she thinks that she's just in the wrong place at the right time, or the right place at the wrong time. I mean, madness. The state of the water companies. We discovered yesterday, for some people discovered it yesterday, some of us knew already, giving enormous bonuses to their executives, even as they commit criminal acts of pollution, pumping shocking amounts of sewage into our rivers. A little insight into what's happened to the NHS was provided when the poor old king was diagnosed with cancer and people were queuing up to describe what their experiences of awaiting treatment or awaiting diagnosis or, God forbid, being on a waiting list actually looked like. I mean, a breathtaking catalogue of catastrophe. Boris Johnson lying to the House of Commons, and Tom Tugendhat, who used to seem like one of the sensible ones, calling for him to return to frontline politics ASAP. This is a man who deployed profoundly anti-Semitic tropes in a novel that he wrote a few years ago. So it is crackers. It's just crackers. So that makes me very biased. That makes me very biased at the moment. We've got to get rid of these people if we want to even begin the process of healing the country. And we haven't even mentioned Brexit, which underpins an awful lot of this madness simply by dint of being the most glorious example of an entire country being gaslit into voting against its own interests by a bunch of weirdos, vampires, hedge fund managers and foreign influences. Extraordinary times. Extraordinary times.